We're supposed to get a lot of wind here today, so I actually worked from home. I'm supposed to go in the office on Tuesdays, but we're supposed to get a lot of wind, so it was our option to stay home if we thought it would be safer, which I did think it would be safer. And then there hasn't been much wind, but I guess it's supposed to start later than they thought, so fires could kick up again overnight. But I feel like this is the last hurrah. Like, if there's no bad fires tonight, then Maddie, hello. You caught me on a live. Nice. I don't think you sent. I saw your message on my one video, but I don't think you sent anything yet. But I'll keep on the lookout for that. Charlie Boo, hello. Not one raccoon fan. Hello. So yeah, I work as a social media manager for an international company, and we were supposed to go in the office today, but I just did not go into the office, but still had all my calls and things like that. Yeah, Maddie, I remembered I have my beacons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm just thinking. I want to look at my YouTube. I think I have my like work email, like my business email in my profile on my YouTube here. Dun, dun, dun. Hopefully I can send. Some of our cast got COVID. Oh no. You forget in this day and age that like people still get COVID. Lizzie and I had neurovirus. Trying to wrest this against my computer. Lizzie and I had neurovirus like as the new year began, and we're like, wait, there's other viruses besides COVID, but then also like we were still testing ourselves for COVID just in case as well, which we didn't have thankfully, but we did have another also bad virus. Well, I hope your cast gets better. Yeah, I have a Beacons link in my YouTube that then I have like my work email, my like business email for contacting. There's 6 of us out. So are you one of the people who has COVID? That's such a bummer. Dang. And you're a fellow Pennsylvanian. I always have Philly type stuff around, or Pennsylvania stuff, like my Wawa hoodie. When Lizzie and I walk to the beach, we usually wear these, and people stop us in our tracks. Be like, hey, are you from Pennsylvania? Are you from Philly? Cool. And then YouTube's also been weird today. Oh, you're hoping you don't have COVID. Good. Yeah, I hope for you also. Yeah, YouTube's been weird today. Lizzie and I post a few videos in the morning that usually do like, even like your worst video will do like okay typically on YouTube, but we both posted some and they got like 10 views in 2 hours, and we're like, okay. And then we started looking at other creators and the same thing was happening to them. So we're like, sometimes YouTube does stuff on their end that's kind of frustrating. So we have to like delete our videos and wait to see if our other videos like start performing better before then posting new videos. Hello Salem Witches. Hello BXG. Hello Max the Golden Retriever. Aaliyah, hello. I am from America. I live in California, right where all of the fires are happening. A few blocks away from where they were bad, but we thankfully didn't get evacuated. Solid Snack, hello. Anthony Hamrada, hello. Capri-san, you post videos too? That's awesome. Lizzie and I go to VidCon in Anaheim, and if anybody's in here is not subscribed, please subscribe. It makes your comments stand out more on my end. Warfishy, hello. And then actually what YouTube has also been doing, the people who comment more on my videos, they actually put like a special icon next to your name. Like if you comment, if you're one of my top commenters on my videos when we're in live chats, but even when you're commenting, it puts like a big red, like almost looks like a YouTube symbol next to it. And then if you're like in the top 10, Jillian Riggins, thank you so much. Wow, thank you. That's my first super on a live stream. Or that's your first super, but I think it's my first too. So yeah, if you comment a lot on my videos, which I love because it helps me to get to know you guys. And I'm always, even though I post a lot, I'm always like kind of trolling my own comments and then also Lizzie's too, of course. Lizzie's at a dance class right now. Jillian, thank you. And yeah, and then when people like send, do a little donation, whether it's in the chat or on a video, it also like boosts, like YouTube does a good job of like making you stand out to me so I can like get to know you guys, but also like thank you and appreciate you. And like whenever you comment, it just makes you stand out more. Um, A Game King, YouTube. Winning channel, bro. I love your content. You're so nice. I just want to say thank you for being so awesome. Well, thank you for saying that. Not everybody says nice things. And if anybody's saying something that's not in the flow of the conversation, I might put you in a timeout. I'm sorry. Joey GT, hello. I look like David Beckham. I actually worked an event with David Beckham recently, but nobody said I looked like him. Dinosaur Nuggets, hello. Your username sounds familiar, Dinosaur Nuggets. Have you been in a chat of mine before? Dun, dun, dun. If something seems inappropriate, I will put you in a timeout for a little bit. Do I have a dog? I do not have a dog. Favorite animal? I like sea turtles, actually. And Lizzie and I got to swim with them in Hawaii a few months ago. And it was all because they're basically like the birds of the sea, like just fly like so gracefully through the ocean and just kind of like do their own thing at their own pace. They're cool, but they don't need to like tell you they're cool. You just know they're cool. So sea turtles are my favorite animal. And I do like dogs. We're not allowed to have any animals here in our apartment, unfortunately. So we do not have any pets. Wildest Dreamer, how you doing? I'm praying for you and Lizzie. Thank you so much. Yeah, the fires, they were supposed to get bad again today, but they seem to, the wind didn't get as bad as the news had reported, which the wind then like fuels the fire, it blows it. Warfishy, what's my favorite food? Mashed potatoes or meatballs? Do I play any video games? I play like sometimes old like Nintendo 64. Lizzie and I play Mario Kart on there. Sometimes Nintendo Wii, but no like new games. We just don't have time. I used to like the Ninja Turtles too. That maybe had started my love of turtles as well. The One VR, hello. Jaren, can you add me so I can talk with you? I'm not sure what you mean, but maybe not. Hi, is Lizzie making any special food today? She made a salad with, so she did like these breadcrumbs on their sourdough. She made sourdough homemade first, then used the breadcrumbs from her own sourdough that she made to make this kind of like, sort of like fried chicken. And then we just had like chicken Caesar salads. Maddie said, if you have any advice for a group cast that seems to give up kind of easily, when we mess up, we seem to get upset and almost give up and then get back on track. What's my favorite song? It's probably a Blink-182 song. We saw them in concert a year ago. But back to Maddie's question. Jaren, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate every single subscriber. The LA fires are doing okay right now, but we'll see. Overnight, it's supposed to get windy again. But Maddie's in a musical, and the cast gets frustrated and gives up kind of easily. I've been in essentially like 10 years of like acting classes, but also on movie sets and sets of TV shows where I've been on sets with star actors, but also actors who are kind of just figuring out acting. So I've been around, I guess, to make the point, I've been around all kinds of actors. I've been on a set where I made a huge mistake right next to Matt Damon, and then George Clooney was directing the movie. George Clooney got really upset with me. I've done a story about it on YouTube. And that was early on in my career in Hollywood. But for a cast that gets frustrated, if it's a whole cast, that is tricky. I mean, that's almost like the director's job to kind of know the right buttons to push because every cast is different. Sometimes you just have this like perfect harmony on a set where like everybody just like knows their job and knows their role and they're like ready to jump in. And the thing I love about, and maybe that's the difference between theater and movie, I mean, it is one of the differences. I love getting to do takes and rehearsing multiple times to find like all the different nuances of a character. But some people in theater I've done, they sometimes like to like the spontaneity of it almost, and don't like to over rehearse, which makes it a little tricky because then if things aren't going right, then they get frustrated. But like you kind of need to practice to get good, I think. But then some people think if you practice too much, you lose like the reality and the spontaneity of a production. So when a cast, this is such a good question. I'm definitely like talking in circles as I'm trying to think about if a cast, even when Lizzie and I film sometimes, she's frustrated because I'm trying to tell her what like I think we should do for a trend, or sometimes I'll just kind of like choreograph it and then have her do the same thing, so it'll make it easier to edit videos for both of us. Um, I don't know. It's a kind of a maturity thing. If a cast gets frustrated easily and wants to quit, I think the one thing that you can do is remind everyone what the greater goal is, and the reason you're there, and like you're doing it to put on a performance, and it's the imperfection sometimes, especially in theater, but also in movies, that make it really special. Like those are things people remember, is like the things that go wrong that people still worked through. And most of the time the audience didn't know went wrong, but like there's something real and there's an energy to those moments where the things don't go wrong and the actors kind of like work through it in the moment, that just like gives this, a lot of times like movies, TV shows, some of the best scenes in movies ever were like sort of mistakes that the actors like worked through. Your director seems to not understand how to talk to us properly and works us very, very hard. Some say too hard, and we don't know how to handle it sometimes, so we get upset very easily. Okay, so that's like better context, Maddie, for why the cast is getting upset. I didn't know if it was just because they kept messing up, but if it's more like you're tired, especially like for something like theater, or even like some movies I've done where I've been on set till like 4 a.m. Like when you're tired and you work through it, even if a director is pushing you too hard, it will make you, it should make you better when potentially something goes wrong in the actual show, or there's like some unexpected surprise. I think there's a saying in the military, like when things go really wrong, you don't necessarily rise to the occasion. You more like sink to the level of your best training. So if you have really good training and you worked hard and you're forced to like be in the moment and almost to the point where you quit, but you don't quit, that should hopefully, and hopefully your director is like seasoned and know what you're like. I would trust the director, hopefully like to trust their long-term vision, that like this is to make you guys better. Because if especially if you, some of you guys are younger and like you haven't done many productions, theater and movies and acting is really, really hard work. I've been in classes where the expectation was to do like 20 to 25 hours a week of rehearsing with the scene partner for just one scene. This is like a really famous Hollywood acting teacher who taught Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt and Charlize Theron, and just like is like a supervisor on so many different like TV shows and movies, and she would make us rehearse 20, 25 hours a week for like just a 2-minute scene to do for class. So acting, yeah, acting is not like, it is work. Like, and if you want to make a career of it, like it is so hard. But if you love it, it won't feel as much like work to you as it would to other people who are just doing it for like whatever, fame or money or whatever. And if you're doing it for that reason, acting is like really hard to like make it to the next step, next level. So if you're doing it for fame or money, you're already in a bad spot. But if you really love it, then the work in a weird way is like the joy of the journey, is like feels kind of good. What's your favorite food Lizzie's made? Oh gosh, that's such a good question. She makes so many different kinds of foods. We have like 100 cookbooks that I'm staring at in front of me. She made a good fish recently, actually, like a white fish with some kind of sauce. She makes really good like appetizers and hors d'oeuvres too. That's a really good question, though. It's almost, I have a tie for like 10 different things. I got the lead role in my high school's production of Beauty and the Beast. Oh my God. Roxy, amazing. Yeah, so Maddie, you have 7-hour school days and then get out and then rehearse after all of that. Yeah, Lizzie actually. So Lizzie did a musical I told you about on my last live, The Little Mermaid, in Hollywood, and they got paid to do it. Um, but their rehearsals were like 4 or 5 hours. Like Lizzie would have to go after working a full day of actual work, like at an office, and then she'd have to drive for an hour and a half, and then rehearse for 3 or 4 hours, and then do that every single night for a few months before they're ready to go on. And then I ended up going to 13 or 14 of their performances because it was such a long drive. I felt bad like on a Friday or Saturday night. I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to watch Little Mermaid again. But yeah, it is a lot of work. But yeah, it is tough when you're also have like school and other obligations on top of that. I know it's like not maybe the answer you want or need of how to deal with that, but I think the biggest thing is just to think about like the big picture in the long run, and like this will make you better. Whether it's just from the experience of doing something really hard that didn't go well, like maybe if the director doesn't know what the director's talking about, in the long term you'll realize that, but you'll be glad you went through this either way. Your friend does theater. I told her you're really good at inspo, and she said she already knew you. Oh, thank you, KK. I'm glad. I mean, most of the acting like Lizzie and I do on social media is like theatrical style, where we'd love to do more regular grounded acting, but it's really hard to do for social media, mainly because nobody wants to take the time to watch a character develop on when watching a 3 second whatever TikTok, YouTube, Snapchat. So it's true. When all is said and done, grief is the price we pay for love. I wouldn't say that. There's that saying, better to love than lost, and never loved at all. And then some people say, well, those people have never lost anyone. But thanks, Maddie. Yeah, I mean, and I loved watching Lizzie in the play. And Lizzie and I, so every time we would drive down for another performance of hers, even though it was theater, we would think of a different intention for her character for each show. I was the only one who got to see the differences because the audience was different every night. So for them, they were always seeing it for the first time. But for me, I was like, oh yeah, she was like playing that's like to be more jealous of her one sister. Or she was like saying that line. We'd think of like different intentions for her lines to keep it like interesting for her. So yeah, and that's Maddie, that's another thing. Like it can be and feel like a different performance every night, depending on like how you're projecting it from your heart. Like I would take how you're feeling in certain days, or how you're feeling like frustrated from your director, put that back into the art, like put that back into the characters. You can have some really incredible performances that not only look good to the audience, but you feel good in your heart if you can channel, when you can channel like real emotions you're feeling into a performance. It can be cathartic. It can like actually make you feel better. And but never push either. So I have a couple like little theater type stories. So I used to have an acting teacher who's been in a lot of TV shows and movies, but he was in a play with the actor John Lithgow. John Lithgow, he was actually just in the movie Conclave that I saw, but he's been in he was the dad in Third Rock from the Sun way back when. John Lithgow's been in a ton of stuff. I think he might be a voice in Shrek too, potentially. But John Lithgow and my acting teacher were in a play together, and they were the only two on stage. It was opening night, and all the critics were sitting in the front row. And this one performance was going to dictate how if these critics put out a bad review, because this was in New York, if they put out a bad review, then like the play could essentially get like shut down very quickly and would be a disaster. And like John Lithgow is a very like highly regarded actor. So my acting teacher wanted to do a really good job too. So it's the first night of the play. It's my teacher and John Lithgow on stage. They're on a couch together, and they have a little back and forth. There's some secret that like my acting teacher's character didn't want to reveal, and the scene's going really well. And then all of a sudden, John Lithgow just stops talking, and my acting teacher's looking at him and John, and there's a huge audience there, and all the critics are in the front row. And my acting teacher, normally another actor would maybe try to like, if you see the actor in front of you is clearly like their eyes blank, sometimes you can like help them, like feed them a line, like say your line again to hopefully get them back in the rhythm. But every once in a while, if you're really feeling emotional on stage, like the lines can leave you, and that's okay. So John Lithgow's like a great actor though, so everybody expects him to know all his lines, and he just went blank. So my acting teacher didn't know what to say, because the only words he could have said after that would have like revealed a secret that was like a key to the whole play. So then John Lithgow just kind of like calmly just looks back off stage and he goes, "Line?" And the audience was like, "Huh?" And somebody from the back told him what his line was supposed to be. He got the line, and then the play just went on, and the critics gave it an incredible review, and not one of them mentioned that moment in the play, because the audience all knows it's just a play. There's no secret. It's not like people go into a theater performance and they're like, "Ooh, it's weird. We're like looking into somebody's actual house right now. There's a family right there. Like we're watching." They know they're in a play. They know there's a stage. They know they're in the audience. So that's not a secret. So that can take away, like once I heard that story and thought about it, like that took away also some of the fear and frustration for me on like different plays and performances I've done. Is like, you're supposed to entertain the audience. And they want to see, like, they want to be moved. They want to see real emotions. And the second story I have about theater is that, and this is from the same acting school, we had an acting teacher, a guest acting teacher, who's also done a ton of TV shows, a ton of movies. And he was doing a play, and he's supposed to cry in the play, and he's supposed to have actual tears. And one night he just wasn't feeling sad. And you never want to push emotions. You only want to show as much emotions as you're feeling. Like acting is the reality of doing and the reality of feeling. You never really want to fake emotions while acting. You just want to conjure up. And there's a lot of different acting techniques, but anyway, whatever acting technique you're doing can conjure up an emotion. You just want to live in that like real emotion, even if it's not as strong as you want in that moment. So this acting teacher was supposed to cry, and he's like, "I just don't have it in me. I just don't feel sad." So he had this was like the 20th night that he was putting on this performance, and he was supposed to be sad, and he was supposed to cry, and like he just didn't feel crying. He just didn't feel crying. Like he got as sad as he could be in that moment, but he didn't try to like like push fake tears and fake crying. So he didn't, and he noticed as he was finishing that performance where he wasn't able to cry. He was like got kind of sad while saying his lines, but not nearly as much as he wanted to. He noticed that there was a couple in the front row that had been to a couple of his other performances where he like really cried and really felt the crying. So he was so bummed, because he's like, "Oh, I know this is like, they're going to think I'm such a fraud. Like I gave such good performances the other night, and then tonight I just didn't have it." So this couple went up to him after the show, and he was like, "Oh gosh, they're going to like tell me I was so bad." And they came up to him, and they were like, they were like, "We were sobbing during that scene." And he was like, "Huh?" And they were like, "Yeah, we saw the other performances where you had like physical tears coming down." They were like, "This one was so powerful." And he realized it's because if you see somebody as an audience member crying, it's kind of awkward. Like you're watching somebody else crying, whereas you actually want the audience to cry for you. You want them to see you kind of like battling through it and like fighting through your own emotion and like fighting for something better. So if you like get to a point where you're crying and then like hold it back and give a performance, that can many times be way more powerful. Even Oscar winners, a small percentage of them actually have like crying scenes where they get like show tears. I've seen the stat before where like 95% of Oscar winners didn't cry tears in the performance that they won the Oscar for. So yeah, so you like, and that's why some people ask me like, "Oh, how do you fake cry?" I'm like, I don't. You wanna, if people think you're really crying, it's because sometimes like you're real crying. But if you don't have tears, and like you don't have to do tears. And if like you're on a movie set someday and they want you to have tears, they can apply something to your eye or whatever if they need that tear to drop at the right time. But like in that moment, you just get as sad as you can be, but don't try to push it past where you're feeling in your heart or where your training has like allowed you to feel in that moment. I also had another crying on stage story from Bryan Cranston, and I have cried on stage in front of like a live audience, and it just happened. It was actually because I wasn't trying to. Um, but Bryan Cranston, who plays Walter White in Breaking Bad, he I read his book. His book is so good. It's like My Life in Parts. It's called. It's so good. It's like definitely worth a read, Maddie. Like that's one. An Actor's Life by Jenna Fisher. It's just a general like acting Hollywood book is also great too. But Bryan Cranston's book, he said one of the early plays he did, he had to like wear like a certain type of makeup for the character. Um, this is almost like going counter to the story I just told, but he had to wear this like makeup for a character he was playing, and the lights were really hot that night on stage, and like some of the makeup melted into his eyes, and he had a crying scene, and he just could not stop. Like his eyes were watering and they burned so badly, but like he just went with it. He's like he wanted to stop because it was like physically like really painful, but he just stayed in character, stayed in the scene, and it looked like his character was crying so much, and then the audience was just like so moved that he was feeling so much, and he's like, no, I was like actually, I mean, this is the point. He was actually in pain. Not that you'd ever want to do that for a crying scene to actually hurt your own eyes, but he's like, had like a puddle of tears in his hand by the end of the scene. And I think some people were like, "How did you do that? How did you fake that performance? How did you cry that hard? That was unbelievable." And he's like, "Because I was actually in pain." Roxy, Matt, do you have any tips on acting? I feel like I just gave a bunch in a way with those stories. But yeah, acting's just, it's like the reality of doing, like just like practice, of course, like take classes, but try to like find the moments where like you connect with your character, and also importantly like make sure you know the moments and know your character that you're playing well enough to know like what things you don't have in common with them, but you can try to like find something to bridge that together. And if you're ever playing an evil character, like no evil character thinks they're evil. They think they're motivated. They think they're doing the right thing. Just the way a script has been written, or the way like the view of the screenwriter is that they're the bad person. But like if you're playing the character, you have to play them like a real solid person who's like really doing something because they think it's the right thing. No character just does something to be bad. They want to help their family, even though they're stealing to help their family. They maybe, I don't know, all the bad things a bad person can do in a movie. Like they don't just do it to be bad. They do it for their own purpose. That's why some of the really good evil characters in movies, like they have their own family, they have their own background story. So it's nice when you're like conflicted, even about like you feel bad for the evil person. It just makes so much more like layers and depth to a story. You do play a slightly evil character. The person I play is slightly evil and flirtatious a lot. Yeah, I would think about, because I think it can be a mistake sometimes to be like, oh, it's an evil character, and then like it almost becomes like a cartoon caricature if you're just like, ooh, I'll like dip into like how evil they are. But it can be such a more robust performance if you really think about like why the character is being perceived as evil, because that character themselves, even if the character says in the play like I'm evil, like I know I'm evil, no, you have to like think about it in a way that like they're actually saying that because they're insecure. Like there has to be more layers. You really have to like dig into the layers of even an evil character, not just play them as kind of like a cartoon caricature of our idea of an evil character. Do you play any video games? Not much. I don't really have time. I'm talking to you guys and making videos. Zenitz, I don't know how to, your name's so long, but I do remember you. You're the person with the long name and the pink hand. Before I put my mindset, I think I'm going to do the right thing because that's what my character does. She thinks she's doing the right thing. Yeah, totally. And you don't have to play like a goody-goody evil person either, but just like know in the back of your mind that like what your like motivation is for the things that are considered evil. And then it'll make it easier for like your castmates to like play off of you because it's more of like a give and take dialogue where like the best movies and TV shows have good relationships between characters. The worst ones don't. And even from season to season, like when a show like is bad in like the next season, you watch a couple seasons, you're like, that show was great. And then you watch the third season, you're like, it wasn't as good. Usually it's because like the writers or directors, they think the characters are so built that they don't like sometimes don't worry as much about like the relationships between the characters later, and they try to make like these big action sequences and things like that, but like the thing that made the show good in the first place is the relationships between the characters. Roxy, thank you. In some movies they just hurt people for no reason. Yeah, and like some movies and TV shows, like if there's no motivation or reason for things, it makes it really hard to watch as an audience member. Like you want to pull for something. You want to. There is a screenwriting book. Some people out here and like Hollywood don't like it, but for like an early like beginner screenwriting book is called Save the Cat. That like when I was starting out here, like every single person's like, read Save the Cat. It'll just give you a structure of like how good storytelling is done. And there's many ways to do storytelling, but in some respects, it's been done the same way for thousands of years. And basically, the premise of the book Save the Cat, which tells you about all of the different like ways you basically there's a structure to how almost every movie is done. And it's essentially every movie's done sort of in 3 acts. But like one of the biggest things for good movies is like for if you have like a hero or main character is to like give the audience a reason to like that character early in the movie. So in many movies you'll literally see a character save a cat because it tells the audience like this is a good this is a good person or this is a good hero because they're saving an animal like early in the movie. And then for the rest of the movie, because they did that thing so early in the movie, you kind of pull for them no matter what throughout the movie. It's like a little trick in screenwriting. Sometimes heroes do turn into the villain, but the reason they turn the villain, like they still have like a motive. Like maybe they felt like the world like turned their back on them. The world they just saved turned their back on them. So now they feel like they have to be a villain. I should get some rest after school tomorrow, 3 to 9. I'll hop on the next live. Yeah, Maddie, good luck and yeah, like keep in touch. Are you Christian? Yeah, I am Christian. I was raised Catholic and went to Catholic grade school, Catholic high school. So I've done basically until I was 18 years old, I did Catholic school. So I am well versed in Christianity. Do you have any favorite TV show or musical? My favorite show, yeah, Stranger Things is definitely a favorite. I feel like in the past, this most recent season, I was actually thinking of when I was talking about characters, that the characters, the relationships weren't quite as strong. It wasn't as fun, Stranger Things. And yeah, I agree, Wicked was also great. Some villains aren't even human. Yeah, but they can still have humanity to them, even if some villains aren't human. Sometimes heroes turn into villains and villains. Yeah, it is interesting when a villain turns into a hero. You don't see that quite as often. But that goes to say that like sometimes the reason villains do things that are considered bad, like through a different lens, like somebody may actually see that same act as being a good thing. There really are like 2 sides to every story. I mean, no, I don't. I was trying to think of like specific movies, but even like Avengers, like Thanos gets rid of half of the world with a snap of his fingers, but like he thinks the world's overcrowded and like that he really believes that's like the right thing that needs to be done. And his followers also think that, but obviously all the Avengers and like most of the world doesn't agree. But that's what makes that like kind of interesting is that he like really believes that. Most villains have a backstory, like a hell of a backstory. It's low key cool. Yeah, the backstories like they have to be good for a villain because you have to really know and what for the villain to be truly great and a truly great adversary to a hero. Like the villain has to have like a strong motivation, like really want to make things go their way. And if they're not like fully committed to it, then the hero could probably change them or convince them or something like that. So the villain really has to be set in their ways, and a lot has to happen to them to get them to that point to be so set that the hero couldn't possibly like change their mind. In a movie, I watched the hero killed the children and the villain started yelling at the hero for it. Yeah, so that's sometimes like sometimes really good movies or TV shows like flip your idea of it. Like you thought you're rooting for. Sometimes that'll happen, or in a series even, like you think you're rooting for this one person and then they start doing some things where you're like, wait a second, that person's not as good as I thought they were. And then like the person you thought was the villain starts actually doing some really nice, cool things. And then you're like, by the end of the series, you've completely flipped. Have you seen Aliens? A few days ago, I watched it up to number 5 with my dad. It was probably one of my favorite movies, or Hunger Games. Yeah, I've met the director of, Ridley Scott, of one of the Aliens. Because I think James Cameron did the first one and Ridley Scott did the second one, Alien and then Aliens. But yeah, those are good movies. I watched some of Alien Romulus recently, but I couldn't really get into it, and I can't explain why. It just didn't pull me in. Vaughn, hello. I said Vaughn before I read, if you pronounce my name right, I'll give you a sub. So hopefully just sight unseen, I said Vaughn. That's right, and I hope you sub. And everybody, yeah, comment on my recent videos too. It just helps me get to know you guys better. I'm gonna have to leave soon because, per usual, I'm running out of battery on my phone. And if I don't leave, it'll make me leave by shutting off. Tropic Plays, hello. Tropic Plays, I was gonna leave soon, but I'll stay a little bit more. Hey Leah, Tropic Plays is a constant and amazing commenter on my videos, and I super appreciate all the comments. If more of you guys could comment on my videos like Tropic Plays, you'd be legends. And if anybody's in here who's not subbed yet, please think about giving a little sub. Would love to hit 1 million this year, but before 1 million, I have to hit 400,000. And it's literally just one sub at a time. Every sub is like so important to me. And I just, want to continue to like keep building community with you guys, giving you things like that you find entertaining, but also like somewhat educational, or at least like thought-provoking, if not educational. So, you like my acting? Thank